Hi everyone, my name is Sean in case you don't know, and in today's video I'm doing a video that I've been wanting to do for a really long time, which is giving my story about POTS and how I got diagnosed and all my symptoms and all of that stuff. So when I was in the 6th grade, I started to get really tired all the time. It just kept happening. I was tested for mono a few times, and then I got depression in the 8th grade, and then it was just sort of my tiredness was blamed on my depression. When I got into high school again, it was still blamed on my depression. I believe I might have been tested for mono again, which mono you just get tested from a blood draw, so that really sucked, but it wasn't the end of the world. And then starting in December of 2017, which is in my 11th grade year of high school, I started feeling even more sick. We had a trip to Seattle, and I remember that trip being really hard because every time I tried to eat food, I felt like I was gonna vomit. I had panic attacks and ran to the bathroom because I didn't know what was happening. And I also had stomach pain. When I came back to that trip, I went to a Comic-Con, I felt fine at the Comic-Con, then the next day, bam, I had a version of the flu, and I ended up in the ER because my body was shaking and we didn't know what was happening. At that time, they're like, oh, well, we don't think you ate enough today, and you're shaking because of your anxiety, so we need you to eat every hour until you get back to eating your full amounts. So that was fine, and I had lost a lot of weight by the time I went into the ER. So I ate an hour every day, I got back onto a normal eating schedule, and then in May I was feeling even more fatigued and tired and lightheaded than usual, and I was also really nauseous, and because I was nauseous I wasn't eating food. So we went into the doctor's office and I was misdiagnosed with an eating disorder. I'm not going to go into the misdiagnosis of an eating disorder today because that will be for a different video, because I sort of need to talk about that on its own. But basically I had this nausea, so I wasn't eating, but I was also lightheaded and fatigued, and I was orthostatic. Orthostatic means that when you go from lying to standing, your heart rate increases by like, I think it's 30 to 40 beats per minute. So thinking that I had an eating disorder, I worked with a nutritionist and I got myself eating normal amounts. But even though I was eating normal amounts, I was still feeling really lightheaded and fatigued and extremely nauseous, and no doctors could help me with my nauseousness until in May of 2019 I switched doctors to a new doctor, and a new doctor was able to just listen to my symptoms and say, I think you have POTS, I'm going to refer you to get tested. So I got the test done. It took a few months to get the test done, so I first got referred in May and then I got tested in July, so that took a while. The test that they do for POTS is really stressful. I've seen some people online call it inhumane. I think it's somewhat torture, but right now this is the only way to test for POTS. There has been a study done where they think they can identify POTS now based on a biomarker, and I've looked into that and I read the article, but I don't think it's like, I don't know, like confirmed enough that they can start diagnosing based off of a simple blood test. A tilt table test is essentially a test where you have to have an IV in your arm. I hated that. They didn't end up using the IV in my arm. I think sometimes they pump adrenaline into you through the IV, or if you pass out, I think they give you liquids to help you recover, but I'm not 100% sure. So you get an IV in your arm and then you get strapped to this table that's horizontal. And then it slowly shifts up vertically. You stay in this vertical position. I think they said like 30 to 40 minutes for me, but I was like, there's no way I can last that long. And they're basically monitoring how your heart does. My heart jumped by over 70 beats per minute. A normal, functioning heart should not be jumping that high. So my body was basically like, you're vertical now and you were just horizontal, we don't know what to do, we're panicking. And I couldn't see anything. I felt like I couldn't breathe, and I could hear my heart pounding in my ears, and I was like, hey, I can't see anything, I can't breathe, and I was like panicking, and then they're like, we know what happens next, so they put me back down. The tilt table test is harmless in the sense that you won't have any like long-lasting impacts of it, but it was pretty stressful. POTS is known a lot for people passing out from the condition. I haven't passed out yet from the condition, but if you pass out from the condition, there's a high probability you'll pass out on the tilt table test, unless the person running your test is like, okay, we'll take you down because you're about to pass out, you know? After that, I started trying to find a POTS specialist. There's one in my city, but there's such a long wait list for the person that I still haven't seen the person, even though I got my test last July. There just isn't that many POTS specialists. I saw a doctor in Bend, Oregon, which is like 4 hours from where I am, and that doctor knew a little more about POTS than my primary care doctor, but she wasn't like a POTS expert, so she was able to help me a little bit, but not much. I unfortunately won't be going into treatment of POTS in this video because I honestly have not been able to manage my symptoms yet. I still deal with really bad fatigue and lightheadedness on just the regular, so don't really have any good advice on how to get rid of it yet. I also don't feel comfortable talking about prescription medications that I'm testing out for POTS on here, but I just want to talk about my symptoms a little bit before I wrap up this video. Oh my gosh, I don't think I even said what POTS stands for. POTS stands for Postural Orthostatic Tachycardia Syndrome. It is a chronic illness, so for some people it will never go away. If you get it when you're a teenager, there's a chance that your symptoms can go away and you can be normal and yeah, just normal functioning in the future. I don't know if that's going to happen for me. I did get it when I was a teen, but not everyone can overcome their symptoms. I really hope I can overcome my symptoms because right now, currently, I can't go to school on campus because of POTS. I can't hang out with friends, and I can't get a job, so I'm just basically at home all the time. So I really hope I can get better, but I'm not close to getting better yet, and there's a chance I may never get better. So for my actual POTS symptoms, I have really bad lightheadedness. I'm orthostatic, as I said, so when I go from laying to standing, I have a chance of passing out. Everything basically goes white, and yeah, I just have to sometimes sit down, and waking up in the morning is the hardest for me, so I have to go from laying, and then I sit up for a little bit before I finally stand up and walk down the stairs. Fatigue, tiredness, I have sleep insomnia. My sleep issues basically fall under I can't fall asleep until about 3 every night just because I am not tired. Like, I'm wide awake at night, all of my symptoms disappear at like 2 in the morning, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I could run a mile, I could clean my room, I could do all my homework right now. So yeah, I just can't fall asleep at night because I'm awake. But then that also means that I can't wake up early in the morning. So the sleep pattern, as you can see, is really disruptive. It interferes my ability to do schoolwork, to go to events, to just do literally anything important. I am also really nauseous. I don't really remember why nauseousness is a big part of POTS off the top of my head, but I know that that's one of my symptoms that I have the most issues with. I have a massive fear of vomiting, so as you can imagine, being nauseous all the time and feeling like I'm about to puke 24/7 is not fun, and that's why they thought I had an eating disorder, because I restricted my eating because I was like, if there's no food in my body, I can't puke it all up. I think I had disordered eating, but an eating disorder program like the one that I was in could not help me with that issue. I had weight loss that was somewhat attributed to these eating issues, but I'm including it in this video just that I'm being clear about what I'm dealing with because of POTS. I've regained all of the weight back and even gained some more weight back, so I'm in a healthy weight zone now. My other POTS symptoms include an inability to sweat in most parts of my body. My body doesn't know how to regulate its body temperature very well. I only sweat in my hands and in my feet, and I only sweat in my hands if I'm holding something. So I have a candy right here, and if I held this candy and I'm like walking around for like an hour, my hands will sweat. And from wearing socks and shoes, whenever I wear socks and shoes, my feet sweat. But if I'm like outside in 100-degree weather and it's humid, I don't sweat, I overheat, my face becomes like a tomato, and I can't function, and I feel like I'm about to pass out. Some of my other POTS symptoms include an increase in anxiety and depression, and a little bit of an increase in OCD as well. I don't know why that happened. I know that some other POTS patients have had this issue too, so it's not just me. I know any sort of chronic illness that you get, as soon as it disrupts your life, you have a chance of getting your depression worse because you can't do what you used to be doing. I've also had noise sensitivity issues now from POTS. Don't know why, don't know the connection. And my body has uncontrollable shaking. It happens like once a week, and this is from POTS, I believe, but I'm not 100% sure because I haven't seen the specialist yet. What happens is basically one part of my body, or all over on my body, it feels like my muscles are tightening, then untightening, tightening, untightening, and then my body starts shaking. Since POTS falls under the branch of dysautonomia, which there's like 4 conditions I believe that fall under dysautonomia. There's Ehlers-Danlos, which I for sure don't have. There's mast cell, there's POTS, and I think there might be one other one, but I'm not 100% sure. But since mast cell falls under there, I have some skin reaction things. I don't have mast cell, but I do get allergic reactions to things like bath bombs, face washes, and band-aids, and my skin is just really itchy a lot, and it's really annoying, but it's just something that I have to deal with right now. And then the last symptom is GI issues, specifically stomach pains. I've mostly got my stomach pains under control thanks to the use of one of the medications that I was prescribed, But yeah, stomach pains suck, and also with GI issues, there's intolerances to foods. These intolerances are wheat, soy, and dairy. So if you have POTS, avoid those 3 foods if you can. I can't get dairy out of my diet without drastically reducing what I'm eating and then not eating very much at all. So I've sort of weighed the pros and cons of taking dairy out, and I've left dairy in my diet, but definitely take out wheat and soy if you can. Soy is a little hard to get out because there's soy lecithin and things, but I find that I don't react to soy lecithins. Things like soy sauce and just straight up soy and soybean flour, my gut is like, F you, you know? But all wheat, my stomach just dies whenever I eat it. So yeah, this video was shorter than I thought it would be, but that's basically my story with POTS and how I got diagnosed and my symptoms. I'm still learning to manage my POTS symptoms, so there will be more POTS related videos in the future. I also have, I think, a couple posts up on my Instagram about POTS. Oh my gosh, that reminds me, brain fog is a major part of POTS. Brain fog basically happens, I don't know why it happens, but basically when it happens, my brain is slowing down and I feel like I'm in an actual fog. I can't speak very well, so I'll stumble over my words, or I'll start talking and I'm like, what is that word? And then it takes me like 5 minutes to remember what the word sock was. And then when I have brain fog, I forget everything, so like if I'm reading a book, I'll forget everything in that book when I'm reading it because of brain fog, which is why I read only at night, because my symptoms are gone in the night. Yeah, I think that's the only POTS symptom that I forgot. I think we're all good now. As I said, a lot of people with POTS do pass out a lot. I don't have that symptom, so if you're passing out a lot, definitely go ask about POTS. So yeah, that's all for the video. I think I covered everything I wanted to cover today. Feel free to subscribe to me and follow all my other social media if you want to. If you have any questions about POTS, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below, and I will be responding to all of the questions that are commented. And now I need to go eat some salt because I'm sort of feeling really fatigued right now, and salt is one of the things that supposedly is supposed to help POTS patients. So I'm gonna go eat some salty foods, and I'll talk to all of you later. Bye!